Julie Gunlock is with us in studio. Julie, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you.
Excellent. Did you have a good Independence Day?
It was nice. We had some friends over, standard barbecue, sparklers. Sparklers are illegal in the town I live in, but we were rebels. Can you believe that?
You're actually admitting this.
Yeah.
I kind of can't believe it. But we were talking with Charles Cook last week, and he was so excited because he thought that fireworks were legal in Connecticut, and I had to tell him no, they don't have fire. And I saw that it was illegal in Connecticut to have a sparkler in your hand if you're under the age of 16,
So stupid.
which I found astounding.
Yeah, they're totally illegal in
So
Alexandria. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, courage.
I honestly,
I've got your back. I suppose if they come after you.
As I told my husband, I'm going to risk it because that will make one heck of a column if I go to jail because I had a sparkler. But the police clearly had other things to do. They were not, paroling the neighborhoods looking for children with sparklers. Thank goodness. So we were safe.
Yeah, that is good. I would be really concerned if that was a high priority item for the Alexandria police. Good. Did you hear any unauthorized fireworks in your neighborhood?
Unfortunately, no. Nope. I didn't hear one. No, it was depressing. Could
you see any of the fireworks?
No.
Any of the big displays around D.C.?
No, we don't really. It's terrible. Alexandria celebrates its birthday 1 week after the 4th of July, and they do their own celebration with fireworks. So we usually take the kids down to that. It's a little less crowded. It's local. D.C. and Alexandria are only, 4 miles away. But we really are not interested in fighting the crowds on the National Mall. So we haven't gone to see the national fireworks for... I don't think we've ever taken the kids. It's a bit of a hassle with 3 little ones. So we'll see fireworks next.
I'm with you.
We'll see fireworks next or this coming weekend.
Well, there you go. Yeah, no, we would take our kids to Alexandria too because you're right. It's just 50,000 people in the traffic, and that's okay. Nah. Right. Nah, that is not a way to celebrate freedom, being stuck in traffic for several hours.
Yeah, that's just an invitation for me to scream at my children. So we avoid those situations.
Well, good for you for making sure that you don't put yourself in those situations. Well, we had roughly the same Independence Day then. We had friends over. Actually, we had friends over the day after Independence Day. We still had some sparklers left over because I bought extra. And we had fireworks in our driveway.
Nice.
And then we did see some unauthorized fireworks. Yeah, up in the sky. But it was a good weekend. It was nice to celebrate freedom. Now, usually, Julie, you and I talk about the nanny state. Maybe we'll talk about the helicopter parents or the free range kids. But I ran across a story from the Memphis Commercial Appeal. There's a new book, When Kids Call the Shots, that is about not helicopter parenting, but kids bullying their parents, and the parents, in essence, putting up with this. I'm curious, do you think that this is a real thing?
I really do.
And does this go hand in hand with the helicopter parenting?
It does. It's a complacency. It's a unwillingness to teach your children basics. I think bullying is also tied into this. I have thought for a long time that this problem we have in the country of kids bullying, and again, you never know. Has it really gotten worse, or is it just more reporting and more press focusing on it? But I do think that there is a problem in this country of teaching children the golden rule and teaching them manners. And part of being respectful to your parents is teaching your children to be respectful, period. And I think sometimes this helicoptering, this need to sort of, treat your child with kick. Oh, I don't want to upset them. Well, punishment and setting boundaries, this can upset a child. And so I think a lot of parents who sort of treat their children like snowflakes, they have children who act out. I have actually witnessed what you're talking about at my children's school several times. I've seen children be incredibly disrespectful to their parents. In one case, a mom had forgotten to put a particular book or something in a child's backpack, and the child called his mom stupid in front of an audience of parents who were there dropping their kids off. And the mother apologized for forgetting to put the book in, didn't in any way react to the name calling. That was really shocking to me. So I do think that it happens more often. And again, I think all of these things are connected. I think if parents spend a little bit more time, again, on the basics of manners and the golden rule, I think a lot of these problems would go away.
Wow. I was kind of dumbfounded when you relayed that anecdote. Sounds like one of the awful kids in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, it's just...
They're taking over. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or the Oompa Loompas when we need them.
What's the girl who blew up to be a blueberry? They have great names. That book, there were great names.
Was that Veruca Salt?
Veruca Salt. It's an epidemic of Veruca Salt taking over. So yes, that's a good title.
And
for
Mike TV's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so this guy, Stephen Glover, who's a therapist out of New York, has this new book out, When Kids Call the Shots. And he seems to think that, a lot of this, he was asked, how do we reclaim our parent power? And he says, so often we treat parenting as one-size-fits-all. Strategies usually begin by going backwards rather than trying to snuff out the problem. What's causing the problem, rather than trying to control a conflict or control a situation, look at the whole child and find what's missing. Now, again, in the case that you just mentioned, it appears perhaps manners and respect for others was missing there. When you're talking, he relays a story of his 6-year-old child, or his daughter when she was 6, would just have these freak out public temper tantrums. And he says, as a child therapist, this was really embarrassing for him, and he ended up, having to talk with another therapist about it, who said, "Look, just spend some time with your daughter. Have breakfast with her 3 days a week. Don't talk about yourself. Don't try to relay any life lessons. Just sit and listen and spend time with her." And he said that actually started to change her behavior. Maybe she was acting out because she needed the attention. She wanted her dad's attention, not her dad's necessarily focus, but just her dad's attention. That might be something else entirely. And I wonder, too, with, these helicopter parenting stories, horror stories that we hear, are we substituting, in some cases, activities for care and concern for our children?
Yeah, look, I think, I think this has some connection to, let's say, the school lunch program, which I write a lot about. More and more children eat the school provided meal. And that means that they are given a tray and they sit down and they can choose to eat it or they don't eat it. And, research, and I've talked about this on this program before, when you look at the research on childhood obesity, it's pretty clear that the way to really help children maintain a good weight is for parents to be involved in telling kids what's good to eat, what they should and should not eat, being more involved. And if that means packing your kid a lunch, sitting them down and making them eat breakfast before they go to school, and trying to eat dinner. Actually, the research shows that a family meal at least 3 times a week really helps kids sort of get an understanding of proper nutrition. And so as you remove the parents more and more from the child's life, you start to see an increase in obesity. The bottom line is parents being involved in their children's lives improves child behavior, period. It's not just, you can take the lesson from the research on childhood obesity and extend it to other activities like your child having manners. I think one of the things that I was thinking about when you were telling the story about the man just spending time with his daughter is, there's friendships that form between parents and children. Now, I don't want to be one of those parents that wants to be, buddies with my kid, but my kids actually, they love me and they appreciate me and they want me to be happy. And so when they misbehave, it's as much upsetting to them that they've disappointed me. And that is very powerful to children. And I think more and more now we dismiss that. But again, just spending time with your kids, it's not just giving them attention and hovering over them. It's getting to know them and talking to them. And this means a lot to kids. Kids want nothing more than to spend time with their parents. I know it's hard for some people. Not everyone can do it. But little things like having breakfast with your child or just spending a couple hours, I think means a tremendous amount.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you 100%. As a matter of fact, Robert Putnam, the guy who wrote Bowling Alone a few years ago. He has I guess, a relatively new book out now called Our Kids: The American Dream in Crisis, which is really well worth reading, and it's very eye-opening. But one of the things that he talks about, again, is the importance of just sitting down with your kids at dinner.
Yeah.
And all of the benefits, not just, even beyond obesity. Your kids are more likely to do better in school. They are more likely to go on to college. Because and it's not necessarily because you're sitting down at the dinner table with your kids. It's just that is maybe a sign that you have a family that is involved
Intact.
in each other's lives.
Yeah, and
right?
care. Yeah.
That's sort of that symbol of family time as you sit down for dinner together. And so maybe that's a proxy. You could also ask, do you do family activities on the weekend? And maybe you see that same correlation. But you're right. I mean, and this is the thing. It does take work. Sometimes it takes work to, as you say, sit back and not, chide your kid, not constantly correct them and say, okay, now's the time we got to work on their manners. Sometimes it's time to let them tell you all about their favorite dinosaur, right? And you don't have to correct them on their grammar and things like that. You just need to listen to them talk about why stegosauruses are awesome.
There's also something to be said about parents and children sitting down to dinner. My parents, every night we had dinner, I got to observe two adults in a marriage talking about their day, my dad talking to my mom about his day, and my mom, offering advice or talking him through things or working out problems. It was also, I think that's important for kids to also to see, is just, this is how marriage works. This is how real relationships work. And so the interaction between the mom and dad, I think, is also really important for kids to see. I had a very good example of a good marriage. And so I think all of these lessons are really important. So often the left dismisses the importance of the family, but I think the research is on our side, is on the side of really people on the right who constantly try to remind the American public of the importance of intact families and healthy families and parental involvement in kids' lives.
Yeah, as opposed to maybe the family activity sitting around the TV watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and that's how the kids learn about how families interact with each other. All right, listen, Julie, I appreciate you coming on the program. I'm glad that you and the family had a great Independence Day, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hang out soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Julie Gunlock, you can find her writing all over the place, but the best place is IWF.org.